Nemesis.
All right, guys, thanks for joining us again for another AM Dynasty presentation. This video is going to be extremely short, only 5 minutes. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the channel. Check us out on YouTube. And also don't forget to check out AM Dynasty on our audio platform. So with that, enjoy the video, and we will see you on the next one. Statue of Ramses II as a Sphinx, offering a ram-headed vessel. Limestone, New Kingdom, Dynasty 19, Egyptian Museum. Ramses' absolute power and religious devotion are encapsulated in a half-lion, half-human sphinx, symbols of physical power. Lions, then as now, were closely associated with royalty. Here, Ramses offers a vessel of holy water to Amun-Ra, king of the gods. This sphinx stood in Amun-Ra's great temple at Karnak.
nemesis.
Amun Ram. This species of ram is associated with the sun god Amun. It is similar to a 25th dynasty statue of Amun protecting the pharaoh Taharqa. Erwin Winterhalter, a Swiss Rosicrucian artist, created this sculpture of the god Amun, as well as a number of other sculptures that can be seen around Rosicrucian Park. Winterhalter was well known for his piece, The End of the Trail, which was displayed at the 1915 San Francisco Pan-Pacific Exhibition.
One of the most important aspects of life to the ancient Egyptians was the family. Children were reared, loved, and taught a trade. The old were cared for by their descendants and upon death were buried reverentially, ensuring them eternal life. Through their customs and ritual practices, the Egyptians gained a sense of control over a seemingly chaotic and unpredictable world. Bes and Tauret were two of the most important gods of the home, honored for their role in protecting the family. Bes, protector of the helpless, was often represented as a dancing and bearded dwarf, waving rattles or knives in order to ward off evil. The hippopotamus Tauret was the guardian of expectant and new mothers, helping to see both mother and child through the difficult birthing process. When a woman of Egypt gave birth, it was often in an outdoor arbor, similar to this recreation. Rather than lying down on her back, a woman would give birth squatting upright, with her feet on two bricks which acted as a birthing chair. Professional midwives assisted with the birth, although if there were complications, an obstetrician would be called to the home. The walls of the arbor were decorated with vines of medicinal value. When a tea was made of them, the mixture stopped hemorrhaging. In our model, you can see the figures of Bes along the walls at the foot of the bed, warding off evil or bad luck. The weaving rack atop the bed would keep the expectant mother occupied during her pregnancy. Once the baby was born, the mother and child were isolated for about 14 days. Once the period of isolation was over, there was a celebration in the family and in the village. The women of the community came to the arbor and adorned the new mother with cosmetics. Her hair was braided and decorated. Elaborate jewelry was placed on her body. Perfumes anointed her, and she was ready to go outside. All of these cosmetics and decorations were to demonstrate that she was re-entering the protection of Hathor, the familiar goddess of love and beauty. In one arm, she held her new baby, and in the other, a mirror, a sign of fertility, because the name for the mirror sounded like the word for life, Ankh. A villager dressed like Bes would dance about shaking the rattle in protection. This was the time the baby's fortune would be given by women acting out the role of the goddess Hathor, and the baby might be officially named at this time. The baby entered the protection of Bes, and the mother had the dual goddesses of Hathor and Tauret as her protectors.
Birthing room. After the period of isolation, the mother and child would be welcomed into the community with a great celebration. The new mother, carrying a mirror, would be made up and dressed in an elaborate wig, necklace, and girdle. Perfume would be placed on her hair. A villager dressed as Bes would dance wildly, frightening away evil spirits. The child would probably be named at this time, which was between 7 and 14 days after birth. This model of a birthing room is based on several fragmentary archaeological examples, mainly from the sites of Deir el-Medina and Tel al-Marna, as well as some surviving artwork. Obelisk of Shalmaneser III. The lower register shows people from the land of Musert bringing tribute to Shalmaneser III, but we do not know for sure which country Musert was considered a part of. The piece was cast at the British Museum in 1936. This obelisk would have been one of the first pieces cast there, since in 1936, casting responsibilities shifted to the British Museum from the Victoria and Albert Museum. Cast obtained in 1936 from the British Museum. RC 745. This statue is very rare. It is one of 7 in the world identified as the most famous Queen of Egypt, Cleopatra VII. Cleopatra VII was born into a Macedonian family called Ptolemies, who were famous for their vicious infighting. Matricide, patricide, and fratricide were common in many generations, including Cleopatra VII's. She had several relatives killed so that she might live. For generations, the Romans coveted Egypt, a bountiful source of grain that they could use to feed their army. They used the fighting in Cleopatra's family as an excuse to send an envoy to Egypt, Julius Caesar. The Romans expected Caesar to choose someone who would be friendly towards the Roman Empire to be Egypt's new pharaoh. However, Julius Caesar was charmed by Cleopatra's wit, intelligence, and brought her back to Rome as his lover. He supported Cleopatra as she struggled against her sister Arsinoe for the throne of Egypt. Unfortunately, Caesar was murdered on the Senate steps, and Cleopatra fled back to Egypt. The next envoy to Egypt was Mark Antony, a friend of Caesar's. Antony also fell in love with Cleopatra, and together they fought against Rome until they were defeated and Cleopatra was captured. She committed suicide, probably so she could not be dragged through the Roman streets in shame. Many of Cleopatra's statues were destroyed by the Romans after she died. Her pose is classic Egyptian, probably meant to remind the Romans that her family had ruled Egypt as pharaohs for 3 centuries. However, her face is done in the Greco-Roman style. The triple uraeus snake symbol on her brow is rare and helped identify this statue as Cleopatra VII. This statue was broken below the ankles, and the feet were later restored using another material. At the rear of the statue is a support called a plinth. A strip in the center of the plinth would have held names and titles, but this area has been filled in. 30 BCE, granite diorite, RC 1582. All right, I hope you guys are enjoying the video so far from our trip to the Rosicrucian Museum. This is a model of a Tel Al-Marna estate. And one thing that strikes me about this model, you think back to how the ancients were living at this time, and it's so interesting. It reminds me of like an episode of Cribs, royal ancient style or something. Look at this large estate. You see many rooms, the inner half, the outer half, complete with bath houses and inner sanctum. It just reminds you or lets you know that, in ancient times, people were living lavish since the beginning of time, quite frankly. There's always been certain types of class systems where people can just, even if it's just a chosen few, live in the class. Look at that right there, where I'm not sure if that's like a temple on the estate premises or what, but it just makes you think that you know that not just in our modern era, but during the course of time, that people live lavishly. So check out this model of a Tel Armana estate and continue to enjoy. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. AM Dynasty. Vase. Simple vases like this were placed near Persian graves. This vase was discovered at Susa, capital of the Elamite Empire. Nearby is a tomb attributed to the biblical Daniel. The tomb is a popular destination for Iran's Jewish community. Date unknown. At Shush, Daniel. Clay, RC 1886. Pottery, pitcher, and terracotta bowl. Marlik was most likely chosen at the site of a grave cemetery because it was a site of religious importance. Izzat Allah Nagabin, the grandfather of modern Iranian archaeology, excavated the site during the early 1960s. 1000 BCE at Marlik, clay terracotta. Sword, spearheads, and arrowhead. Spears were ideal weapons for infantry soldiers. The further away you stood from your prey or opponent while attacking, the more likely you were to survive. Arrows were the next logical extension of this idea. 1000 BCE at Redbar, Bronze. Bronze daggers. The first dagger you see here has a Sumerian-style handle in the shape of a fish and was discovered in the Lorestan province of Iran. The rest were found near the city of Redbar in Iran's Stilin province. C. 900 BCE at Lorestan, Redbar, Bronze. Axe head and matlock. These are the bronze heads of an axe and matlock, both of which were agricultural tools. In times of danger, they could have served as improvised farmers' weapons. A matlock is a pickaxe-like tool used for breaking ground. 1000 BCE, bronze. Bronze owls or hairpins. These items from Marlik may have been hand tools or pins to hold hairstyles in place. Following a government change in 1962, Iranian archaeologists were forced to abandon the site. Many artifacts were stolen by looters shortly thereafter. 1000 BCE at Marlik, bronze. Glass bracelet and cylinder seal. This fine bracelet is made of spun glass. Beside it is a stone cylinder seal, like those in the case across the gallery. Although seals were important for authorizing documents, they were also worn on necklaces as jewelry. 1000 BCE at Marlik, spun glass stone. Bronze fragments and pottery shard. Most but not all of the artifacts excavated at Marlik were found in pristine condition. Marlik may have been abandoned shortly after the cemetery was created. These are fragments from the bronze and clay pottery which did not survive intact. 1000 BCE at Marlik, bronze.
BJ Beats.
Persian padlock. As soon as there was wealth to protect, there was a need to invent ways to protect it. This very advanced ancient bronze padlock in the form of a lion comes from Mesopotamia's next-door neighbors, the Persians. Today, Persia is called Iran. 700 CE, bronze. Spoons, bells, and ornaments. These bronze items were found near Marlik, Iran. Artifacts similar to those at Marlik were found at Sailk in southern Iran. Although they date from a slightly later period, the people from Marlik may have relocated there. 1000 BCE at Marlik, bronze. Middle Kingdom model of a warboat. The men with this boat model are prepared for battle. Note the cowhide shields, sewn with sinew in the center of the boat. The artist even made sure to paint the stitches in the shields. Arrows and bolts are stored between the shields. Dynasty 2, wood pigment, RC 1518. All right, thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoy part 2 of our trip to the Rosicrucian Museum. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to my channel on your way out the car, and we will see you on the next one. Field trip to the Rosicrucian Museum, part 2, only on AM Dynasty. Stay tuned for the next AM Dynasty episode where we debut part 1 of a really brief mini-series entitled Field Trip to the Rosicrucian Museum. In this brief mini-series, in part 1, we visit the Rosicrucian Museum where we examine and explore rarely seen ancient artifacts. In part 1, we will also learn more about alchemy. In this often imitated, never duplicated AM Dynasty original miniseries entitled Field Trip to the Rosicrucian Museum, only on AM Dynasty. See you there. How many of you are aware that right here in Northern California, the Bay Area, there's a museum dedicated to showcasing actual ancient Egyptian artifacts? Well, welcome back to AM Dynasty. In this AM Dynasty original showcase, we'll be taking a field trip, to the Rosicrucian Museum. In this very short AM Dynasty original miniseries, we'll be traveling to the Rosicrucian Museum to check out original ancient artifacts on display. So buckle your seatbelts and enjoy.
Is a meditative mandala used by alchemists to apply the operations of alchemy to their personal transformation. Focus your attention on the face of the alchemist at the center of the drawing. The triangle over his face signifies divine grace raining down. So we see in this triangle a union of the divine mind with the mind of the alchemist. Each ray on the star shining up in the alchemist's face represents a metal from lead to gold. The circle scenes, called rondo, depict what must be done to transform the metals. The outer ring has a Latin instruction that reads, "Visit the innermost parts of the earth, and by rectifying them, you will find the hidden stone." The first letter of each word spells out vitriol, vitriol, which is sulfuric acid. Alchemists believe a similar liquid fire exists within themselves and call it their secret fire. The large triangle behind the ring stands for the three forces of creation, which we know today as matter, energy, and light. Alchemists refer to them as the three essentials of salt, sulfur, and mercury. Salt, or corpus, is matter, symbolized by the cube. Sulfur, or anima, is energy, symbolized by the sun, and salamander living in fire. Mercury, or spiritus, is light, symbolized by the light of the moon and the bird of spirit about to take wing.
Ladies and gentlemen, the time right now is 5:50 p.m. and in 10 minutes at 6 p.m. The Rosicrucian
In his right hand is a torch of fire, and in his left a
Please prepare to take one last final art visit to your favorite artifact or exhibit, making your way to the end of doors which are located at the admission desk entrance.
To the alchemist's right, the jovial solar king sits on the line and holds his scepter and shield, indicating his authority over the visible world. But the dragon of his unconscious hides in a cave, ready to attack should he grow too prideful. To the alchemist's left, the melancholy lunar queen rides a great fish in the sea. She carries a shaft of wheat, symbolizing her connection to fertility and growth. The bow and arrow she cradles represents the wounds of body and heart she accepts as part of life. In simplest terms, the king and queen are the polarities of our existence. Aggressive and passive, masculine and feminine, our thoughts and emotions that must be reconciled before we can achieve unity and wisdom. Now move to the black ray, number 1. It carries a cipher for both the planet Saturn and the metal lead. The smallest square denotes the three essentials principle of salt. The goal is to overcome the lethargic, dark, heavy spirit of lead and begin the journey of transformation. Moving clockwise, the first roundel is marked by the Latin word "visitum," which means to begin a journey. The black crow sitting on a skull is the classic symbol for the calcination operation, which uses fire to burn away old structures and habits. On the personal level, the skull signifies the illumination of ego to reveal the true inner self. Ray number 2 has a cipher for both Jupiter and tin, The goal is to free the trapped energy in lead and transmute it into shining, untarnishable tin. On the personal level, the book involves the purification and the control of feelings and emotional energy. The second rondo depicts the operation of dissolution, which works with water to dissolve material. This step is marked by the word interior, which means to work with the innermost parts of the sight. It shows the black crow watching its white, purified soul emerge from the dark waters. Ray number 3 is marked with the cipher for both Mars and iron. The smaller cipher denotes the principle of sulfur or energy. The goal is to transmute hard, cold iron by exposing it to the feminine influence of copper. The third rondo shows the operation of separation, in which the birds of soul and spirit pick through the remains of the previous operations to save the genuine parts. Above this rondo is written Terra, which means of the earth, and refers to the essences being separated in the dregs and matter. Ray number 4 has the cipher for both Venus and copper. The goal is to marry the opposing qualities of copper and iron to create something new. On the personal level, this is a formation of an integrated personality by merging our masculine and feminine sides. The fourth rondo depicts the operation of conjunction. It shows the birds of soul and spirit lifting the crown of the quintessence into the heavens. This rondo is inscribed with the word rectificando, which means to rectify or set right. Ray number 5 carries the cipher for both the planet and metal Mercury. An identical smaller cipher indicates the principle Mercury as light or mind. The goal is to introduce new life into the fetus created by the union of iron and copper. The fifth rondo depicts the operation of fermentation. It shows the birds of soul and spirit nesting in a tree, awaiting the hatching of their fertilized egg. The inscription means you will discover. During fermentation, digesting bacteria create a spirit of alchemy. On the personal level, it is an influx of inspirational energy into the sight. Ray number 6 is marked with a cipher for both uranium and silver. The goal is to purify materials by heating them and then condensing the vapors. On the personal level, it means repeated reflection and elevation of our thoughts and feelings. The next rondo depicts the operation of distillation. It shows a unicorn resting next to a rose bush. The unicorn symbolizes sublimation of physical desires, and the rose is the purest flower. Above the rondo is the word occultum, meaning hidden, since the essences at this stage are cloaked in vapors. Ray number 7 carries a cipher for both the sun and gold. The goal is to let go of old structures and allow the final transmutation to take place. The final rondo depicts the operation of coagulation and shows an androgynous youth emerging from a moonlight grave. It is inscribed with the word lapidem, meaning the stone, which refers to the birth of the philosopher's stone. At the top of the ring, above the crown of the quintessence, is a winged figure known as the ascended essence. It signifies the completion of the spiritual work. The soul, now perfected, is ready to take flight to a whole new level of being. Now that you understand the meaning of these symbols, you can work through the Azov at your own pace. Just start with the face at the center and realize that you are now the offense.
Bye.